guys hitting each other or what?
Here we have a fight right off the bat.
Being physical in the NFL is as vital to the game as the pigskin itself. And when divisional opponents face off, the big hits seem to get a little bigger.
I think the NFC East in general, it's just a crazy division. We all hated each other.
And playing against Philadelphia, we always knew when we went up there, it was going to be a hard-fought game.
This is always an intense rivalry between these two clubs. Geographically so close. And boy, they get after it. I think every one of these players brought an extra chin strap tonight.
But what happens when the physicality goes off the rails? When the bangs and knocks pile up and guys aren't bouncing back up?
I've never seen anything like it, from high school, college, 9 years in the pros. I have not seen a game that was that physical.
What we were doing is just scrambling, the backups. Now you get down to different positions where you don't have somebody, that can even play. It would have to be somebody just pulled off the bench and put in there. So it was scary.
This is Hail Tales, stories from Washington football history. The bodybag game. By the turn of the decade, Washington was fighting to touch the greatness achieved in the 80s.
They had won the Super Bowl in 87. They had missed the playoffs in 88 and 89.
Richard Justice, former reporter for the Washington Post who covered the team in the 90s.
And in 1990, there was questions. They were going through a revolving door at quarterback. No quarterback had established themselves. There were Stan Humphries, Mark Rippon, Doug had moved on, and all of that. So there was lots of doubts. And I remember they're 6-5. This is a couple of games after the body bag game, and they're playing the Dolphins at home. And Tony Kornheiser, my coworker at the Post, columnist, says to me, if they lose this game, they're 6-5. If they lose this game, we're going to have to open the topic that Joe Gibbs needs to be fired.
The standard was high, and this Washington team wasn't consistently hitting it. As for the Eagles at the time, they were on the rise. Head coach Buddy Ryan had just led them to back-to-back playoff appearances. In 1990, they were the only team in the NFL to have no regular starters 30 years or older.
I thought they did an unbelievable job of building a team.
Former Washington head coach Joe Gibbs, 3-time Super Bowl champion and Hall of Famer.
I mean, they were loaded, really. The first time I faced the Bear defense and Buddy's defense was when he was at Chicago as an assistant. He deserves a lot of credit for that scheme because people today are still playing that front. It was the first time that somebody actually covered the center and then covered both guards. And then at times he had, if you just played a standard tight end, he had 2 linebackers on the tight end. It's very unusual. I'm not sure I slept trying to come up with a scheme.
He knew all about Buddy and what he brought.
Jim Lachey, Super Bowl champion, offensive tackle for Washington from 1988 to 1995.
We knew that defense was going to be emphasized, and they had a great defense. They had a lot of great football players. Man, when I think about that defensive line, obviously the guy went against Clyde Simmons. Jerome Brown was one of the defensive tackles. Mike Golick was inside there, played one of the defensive tackles. And, of course, the great and legendary Reggie White was over there at left defensive end. Now, being a left defensive end, I'm the left tackle. Joe Jacoby and Eddie Simmons got to deal with him a little bit more than I did, which is totally fine by me. But they had a great defense, and we always knew when we played the Eagles it was going to be a battle because they had some great football players. And then you knew that Randall Cunningham, in that offense can get hot at any time.
In the first clash between the teams during the 1990 season, the Burgundy and Gold came out on top at RFK, 13-7. Washington's weaknesses were on display in the following 2 games: a loss to the Giants Then, a magical but nerve-wracking win in overtime against a struggling Lions.
First of all, the week before the body bag game. This is a floundering team. They go to Detroit. They're down 17 in the fourth quarter. And Joe benches Stan Humphries and brings in Jeff Rutledge, an aging journeyman backup quarterback, a slow-footed backup quarterback. And with time running out, like 12 seconds to go, the clock running, I mean, it's the last play, Joe calls a quarterback sneak, maybe the slowest guy in the league. And the guy goes, Jeff Rutledge goes right up the middle, scores 12 yards on a quarterback sneak to tie the game. Lo Miller kicks a field goal in overtime.
Quarterback inconsistency with Mark Rippon out injured, and a defense that could be exposed.
I remember that week of practice after that Detroit game being a tough week of practice because we gave up a lot of points on defense the week before that.
Martin Mayhew, Super Bowl champion, cornerback for Washington from 1989 to 1992.
We came into the game with the mindset that it was going to be a very hard-hitting type of contest.
The rematch, Week 10, Veterans Stadium.
I remember that night well when we went to Philadelphia. It was either just starting to get cold or it was cold.
Andre Collins, Super Bowl champion, linebacker for Washington from 1990 to 1994.
It was just one of those weird days, and honestly, when we got off the bus from the hotel, there was just something in the air that wasn't good. Personally, I never liked playing on Monday night. I always preferred Sunday afternoon. But that Monday night, there was just something really stale in the air, and I knew it wasn't going to be good. I knew it.
Where did that Eagles scent for blood come from going into that second game? Perhaps it was the quick turnaround between that first and second contest between the teams. Or the eyes of a nation on Monday Night Football. Maybe it was because of a coach who just was a bit brash.
Buddy Ryan was a guy that was kind of a cocky guy.
Charlie Casserly, Washington general manager from 1989 to 1999.
He should have been in professional wrestling too. That's the other thing he could have been great at. So he's always out stirring the pot there on it.
He was the mouthpiece.
Gary Clark, two-time Super Bowl champion, wide receiver for Washington from 1985 to 1992.
You know, he just was. Always that. I mean, that's just Buddy, though. Buddy's that way. You don't see too many head coaches talk trash.
Coach Ryan talked about before the game, this is going to be such a physical game. You know, the Redskins are going to have to bring out the body bags. And little do we know that ended up being the truth in that game.
The Liberty Bell here at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. A capacity crowd on hand tonight for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Redskins.
They had a player, Andre Waters, and this guy had a reputation of being a dirty player, a late hit guy, okay? First play of the game, he takes a cheap shot on Ernest Miner.
And here comes Andre Waters, number 20, and throwing the elbow into the face of Ernest Miner, and immediately the Eagles are assessed the foul. Andre Waters, we've talked much about him over, past several years. He plays this game wildly intense. He was fined recently by the commissioner for banging into a player in our game a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to be hearing more about him tonight already.
We went out for, I think it was our little punt returner, got hit and sprained his knee.
Bubba Tyre, Washington's head athletic trainer for 25 years.
And he's down on the ground, and Andre Waters, their defensive back, who was, to put it mildly, was rather mouthy. I mean, he loved to talk, and at any rate, and he's hollering at me and my assistant. We're down with the player and waiting on the team doctor to get out there. And he's hollering, "You better get you a body bag. You got to get more buses. You got to get body bags."
I mean, nothing against our backup quarterbacks, but we were going into the game without Rippon, and things started off bad. They scored first, maybe off of an interception or something.
And it's intercepted. Frizzell inside the 20, the 10, touchdown.
The Eagles' defense, nicknamed Gang Green, is making sure the Burgundy and Gold feels its presence on both sides of the ball.
William Frizzell got the pick six on us. And he went running up and down our sidelines and like yelling, "Y'all ought to get some more body bags." And we're like, "Who is? What's going on? Who is this guy?"
And Riggs is shaken up. That'll bring in Ernest Biner for Riggs, who limps out.
Washington does manage to tie it up early in the second quarter with a touchdown by tight end Don Warren.
Fake to Biner, and Rutledge goes the other way, and the catch is made by Donnie Warren. It's a touchdown. He doesn't have to worry about it. Don Warren scrambling after the ball, but he was over the line and had possession, according to the initial indication, and it's a Redskin touchdown.
One of my 7 career scores. That's funny because I'm like 6th on the all-time games list. Played in every Super Bowl, started in every Super Bowl, and I actually scored in that game. I totally forgot about it.
But the Eagles aren't fazed.
We had to go out and do things and do what we do best. And what we did best for most of the time is the Hogs usually played well when we ran the football. And, that's something that the Eagles took away.
Here are the Skins tonight on the ground, averaging less than 2 yards a carry.
Give credit to the guys in the green shirts. They have really stuck things at the line of scrimmage, and this is an outstanding Redskin offensive line.
Redskins have not converted a third down tonight. They're 0 for 6.
The game is tied 7-7 at halftime.
Here comes Joe, and he is like livid. He's pissed off, and everybody knows that, Joe never cussed or anything like that, but you could tell when the man was mad. Joe Gibbs comes flying out of there, and he's just irate, and he's saying how poorly we're playing, we're getting our butts kicked. He takes his left hand and swipes and takes all the drinks, Gatorade, water, orange slices off to one side, and then he goes whatever he had left, he takes his right hand and clears the other table. And I look over at Okie, and he's soaking wet.
The halftime talking to, unfortunately, did not have the intended effect.
They kind of had a trick play. Keith Byers, who was a former teammate of mine at Ohio State, had a halfback throw, hit his Sherman in the end zone. And, a lot of controversy on that. I remember they reviewed it for about 5 minutes, it seemed like, and they threw a flag, but they ended up picking up the flag, and, they went ahead 14-7.
And the Eagles kept that drive going on that 4th down play, that pass to Heath Sherman, and cash in to take the lead.
But still, that's 7 points. That's one drive, one defensive stop. You get the ball back, you're going to go out there and find a way to tie that ball game back up. But I think that's where we started losing guys.
Major part of their defense now being assisted off the field. And you can see that they have splinted that leg, and he's not putting any weight on that at all. This is certainly a damaging blow to the Redskins.
It was sad to watch so many of my teammates get dragged out of there. I don't know if it was 7, 8, 9, maybe more guys.
Britt Hager laid a major pop on Joe Howard on that run back, and Howard is still sprawled out.
A helmet-to-helmet hit.
Back in the day when you're playing in Veterans Stadium and you got, loud fans and, it was hard to hear the snap count, and you got your backup quarterback in there, and, they were able to tee off on him. I think they got 4 sacks in that game. Reggie White had 2 of them.
The field just strewn with Redskin injured.
Normally trainers, we might go on the field once, twice during a game, to assist the injured player. This game, it seems like we were out there 8 or more times. I mean, we were out there a lot.
And then you sit there thinking, oh, not another one. Okay, how many of these could happen, right?
Then, salt in the wound.
They really pulled away in the third quarter from us, and we never really recovered from that. I think they scored on defense again.
Sanders in motion. Bryan and everybody else goes into the pattern. Wes Hopkins with a sack. It's picked up by Clyde Simmons, and it's a touchdown.
Our offense got clobbered.
2 touchdowns for the Eagle defense tonight.
You got hit, it hurt. It's just what it was. I mean, you could tell they was playing lights out football.
The posse last week, 32 catches, an incredible number, 13 by Montime to Team Mark. Tonight, a total of 9.
I felt sorry for our quarterbacks, honestly, because they were getting tagged.
Redskins will begin their next drive from that spot, and they will do it with a new quarterback.
He did not have a whole lot of time to warm up, and it is chilly here in Philadelphia tonight, and the temperature is continuing to drop, and I don't think they have a choice. I think Rutledge maybe had to come out of this game.
Well, that's his right hand, and he's a right-handed quarterback.
Stan Humphries, technically Washington's third-string quarterback, is in after starter Rutledge gets hurt. The Burgundy and Gold offense just can't get anything going.
The Eagle defense has just continued to play good football. They have been all over Washington tonight from the get-go. They're playing great football.
The Eagles score again, now up 28-7.
Fake to Tony, flip to Sherman. Who else?
Well, this is an old-fashioned whooping here.
And then, in the fourth quarter, a major problem occurs.
I think Humphries is hurt. Did you see his leg get twisted when he went down? I think Stan Humphries has really hurt.
Grabbing his right knee.
Humphries, the only active, healthy quarterback left on the roster, goes down injured.
Coach called me and said, "You're in." And I'm like, "What, at running back?" He said, No, quarterback.
Number 30 is Brian Mitchell. He's a running back and a return specialist. He's a rookie, but he did play quarterback in college.
I know before the game, Coach Gibbs had come to me. Mark Rippon was already hurt. Then we had Stan Humphries and Jeff Rutledge. If something happens, you have to be ready. And I was like, "What you mean, ready for what?" And he was like, so we're going to give you a little game plan. I said, "Coach, I know the offense." And he started asking me questions, and I basically had a good feel for it because I was a quarterback in college. This is my rookie season, so I kept preparing as I did what I got in college. So they gave me a little smaller game plan. I learned that.
Well, Mitchell's going to come into quarterback here, but this game is over as far as the Redskins are concerned.
I wanted to see it. I mean, because he was an all-around, he's like a throwback. He pretty much did everything. He's a returner, he's a running back, he's a decent receiver out of the backfield. So I remember standing up wanting to see what he was going to do.
So when Brian got in there, I think a couple said, "Hey, Brian, no sacks, man. Don't take any sacks. You're a good runner. Break out of the pocket, get out if you have to, but just don't take any sacks."
And I walk in the huddle, and the first thing I said was, "Listen, we called a speed right, I think it was speed right. Yeah, speed right." And I said, "I'm running this ball." I said, like I did in college, the first time I roll out, I'm running it. But we had a false start.
Well, Brian Mitchell will take over, and before he can throw a pass, we've got a flag.
B. Mitchell's a natural athlete, so we kind of always knew that he could play because he can run and throw, and he's throwing passes in running back shoulder pads. He's not wearing quarterback shoulder pads. He's running back shoulder pads.
Second down. Mitchell throws. The catch is made. He didn't get in, but he did make the catch. Ricky Sanders is there.
I threw a pass to Ricky Sanders, and I thought he had gotten the end zone. I thought it was a touchdown. I threw it was like a post corner, and I threw it. He went out, and I thought he got the ball across to break the plane. That's a damn good pass.
It's a pretty doggone good throw. Look at the tight spiral. I mean, that is right there.
When I see the pass, I guess at that point it made me smile because I did it in college.
Then he hit some passes. I mean, really good passes. And he hit Ricky Sanders on the goal line, which I think it was a touchdown because he hit the cone. Okay, but they ruled it at the 1 yard line, the half yard line, and you knew one thing, there was only one play that Brian Mitchell was going to call. If he's on a half yard line, he's going to run a sneak, which he jumped over to get the touchdown.
Mitchell, well, why not? He deserves it. He's in there for the touchdown.
His first NFL touchdown.
Brian Mitchell pulled on his socks getting ready for this game. I'm sure, like all rookies in this league, they dream of scoring a touchdown. I'm not sure that he imagined it, though, coming by taking a snap from center and taking it on a quarterback sneak at the goal line.
I always told my buddies that I had some bets with some people that I was going to play quarterback in the NFL at one point. So like I told you earlier, I didn't get nervous because that's the first thing that popped in my mind. So I got a chance to start saying, okay, now I have to call my boy because he owes me $100 and this guy owes me this amount of money.
With Brian Mitchell's last-minute touchdown, the game finishes 28-14 Eagles.
You know, we're kind of watching the standings. You're halfway through the season or just starting the second half of the season. And, you know, you want to position yourselves to get into the playoffs. I mean, that's every team's goal, is to make the playoffs and then, you know, fight for a Super Bowl championship. And, you know, so you lose to a rival, you lose to a conference team, you come out of there 5-4, and, you know, there's a little bit of soul searching.
They come back to Washington the next day, 9 players hurt. They get all these quotes from Jerome Brown and from Reggie White, Mike Golick. Just basically, we beat the hell out of them and they don't want us anymore.
The body bag headline was everywhere.
We just kind of like registered it in the back of our brains, quite honestly.
I felt like that was the game that kind of changed our season for us. We were embarrassed. There's no doubt about it. You don't want to get beat up like that on Monday night.
You know, after that point, kind of a gut check time. Everybody in the organization, you know, hey, if you know, we want to win some Super Bowls, we got to win tough physical games like that. We always prided ourselves on being the most physical team.
Nobody was better at taking advantage of crisis than Joe Gibbs. But you had the feeling, and after a game like that there's going to be helicopters with guns on them over the practice field, because we're going to be simple in what we do and we're going to be serious about it.
And I feel like after that, we kind of came together as a team, really started to like each other. For some of the young players, myself, Brian Mitchell, Mo Eloanibi, we felt like we were kind of becoming part of the team. There was a lot of fun stuff happening on Mondays after games, just the whole Joe Gibbs way. You know, I wanted to be a part of that. You know, all of those little things that Joe did kind of brought us together, got guys excited about wanting to compete hard on Sunday. I felt like by the end of that season, we were a really good football team.
Most of the injuries sustained in the body bag game, thankfully, weren't devastating.
Only one put a player on IR. That's you know, it's not like they ended our season.
Very fortunate. Our whole staff, you know, Bubba and his staff, they took great care of us.
It always amazed me that how our guys could respond and come back from injuries. I mean, when one doctor called them, he said they're neuromuscular geniuses.
Mark Rippon came back, threw 4 touchdown passes, one convincingly against the Saints, and then, you know, you start feeling confident. Hey, maybe we can get this done. Maybe we can, you know, keep scratching some wins out and find a way to get up in the playoffs.
Washington won 5 of their last 7 games. The Eagles also won 5 of their last 7. And there it was again. Philadelphia versus Washington. This time, winner goes home.
We can stop these guys. Cunningham is an inconsistent passer who's a good runner, and he'll make some big throws, but he's not going to consistently beat you throwing the ball. Right? The second thing is, Heath Sherman, they kept in the game, the big thing is, well, he's going to break Steve Van Buren's record, who was an all-time great running back for the Eagles in the 40s. Of 35 carries in a game. Sure he did, but he averaged under 4 yards a carry. He was not a guy that was going to be a big play guy. You could contain him. Biner was a move the chains guy too, but he had more explosiveness to him and he was a better receiver. So to me, we can defend these guys. If we can protect, okay, they can't cover us.
So fast forward to the playoff game. It's snowy in Washington, and on the practice field, an hour after practice, Gibbs had done his media and all that. It's Ray Didinger of the Philadelphia Daily News, who later went on to work for NFL Films, and me and Joe. Ray got word that day. The Eagles practiced that week in Tampa. Why? Because the Super Bowl was in Tampa, and we got to be ready for the Super Bowl because everyone knows we're going.
Best thing about our team is we really responded to bravado. If you talk too much, then we took it personal.
We kind of had our own motivating factor where we said we weren't going to talk about the body bag You know, for us, and we had T-shirts made, I remember, they said, "No comment conspiracy." The no comment conspiracy. I think some guys might have even worn fatigues, and we kicked their butts.
Our offensive line played a lot better. Our defense held them to 6 points. And kind of the turning point in that ball game, our defense was always scared to death of Randall Cunningham just because he can make something out of nothing. The ability to take a broken play and pick up a first down or more. About the third quarter or maybe early fourth quarter, they pulled him out and brought in Jim McMahon. But we just kind of exhaled and was like, okay, we got him now.
So we stopped them on their home field. And that's an embarrassment when you lose at home during the playoffs.
Buddy Ryan was fired after the game, and Buddy Ryan never went to the playoffs again in his career as a coach.
I think by beating the Eagles in that game, it gave us the confidence that we had the right type of guys. The guys that were going to fight, the guys that were going to work hard, the guys that were going to be as physical as possible and find a way to get it done.
It didn't happen that season. But next season, what many call the greatest team ever, they went all the way. There's roots on that trophy that sprawl back to a scary but formative night in November 1990.
And I think I remember that game because it changed the way people looked at me. I was no longer just a return guy. I was a vital part that could help the team out. But what the game did for us was make us realize, okay, let's go back and work a little harder, prepare a little better. And then about a year and about 3 months later, we were hoisting the Lombardi. And today, as we talk, I wear this ring. And it was ignited from that night. November 12th, 1990. We won the Super Bowl January 26, 1992. So in that little amount of time, thank you, Philly. You gave us one.
This episode of Hail Tales was narrated, produced, and researched by me, Hannah Lichtenstein, senior copywriter for the Washington Commanders. It was produced and edited by Jason Johnson. Additional editing by Nick Lianos. Executive producers are Ryan Yoakum and Kevin Klein. Graphics designed by Zach Osborne and Matt Cashman. Thank you to our guests for their contributions, and thank you for listening. Voting is now open for the 2025 People's Choice Podcast Awards. Vote now for Hail Tales for Best Historical Podcast. Go to podcastawards.com.